One day, and I told us at faculty, I get so mad at the faculty sometimes, I mean, I just get so uptight with the structure. And the work kind of loose, but I still not loose enough for me, And I get so upset because, I said to the faculty, one day, see, what's going to happen, none of us here in this room, I have 47 professors here, we're never going to live to see it. But one day, see, a freshman is going to come in there and going to sign up for art. It's one course, and it's called art, and that's it. And we'll have shops which will be manned by technicians, which won't deal with art. They'll deal with how to do it, It's like we should send our students to the technical colleges. You've got a guy, a gal there that teaches you the process, the technique, doesn't deal with your mind in terms of art, The worst person in the world to learn welding from is an artist, You bring this joint over, see, and the guy say, well, what do you think about that? And I say, well, how do you feel about it? like, what do you think about it? You do the same thing in technical school, right? And you say, how's that joint? And he throws it across the floor, and it broke. It's no good. He'll tell you there's a yes. Paula, my wife, Paula, she would want to do some pieces that she needed to learn how to weld. So I said, well, look, I haven't welded in years, Last welding I did, matter of fact, was underwater, and it's a lot different than welding topside, So I said, let's go to technical school. So it costs us $12 a piece, right? For like 10 or 12 nights or lessons, you know what I mean? Come out, And you go in there, and the first night, first thing my wife realized was that I was trying to figure out what I liked about it, and it was that here's a person telling me yes and no, saying this is good, this is not good, It's not like, well, what do you think, Of course, that's what art's about, But that, you see what I mean? And so that if we had, a staff of faculty of people who would deal with the person's concept, your ideas, and with each individual person, of what you're doing, then we had all these areas, and this would be the heat areas. There would be foundry area, there would be kiln area, This would be paint, things dealing with paint. This would be dealing with wood, all those kind of things, saws and be manned by, who could man these, who we overlook, and it really makes me, maybe because I'm getting older, our retired craftspeople, our retired tradesmen, tradespeople, They know more damn. How much knowledge you think you've got at 65 or 70 or 80 that somebody 20 years old just doesn't have? This is what we could, there's a tremendous possibility here, you see? And then the staff faculty, you come in as a freshman, see? As a student, you come in dealing with art. We're not going to build up to it, We're not going to practice junior, sophomore, junior, senior year. You keep practicing making art until you graduate. Then you start to make art when you graduate, You start right off, the first day, see? Thinking, the process of thought. I know it's not logical. This should happen at the university. But you really start thinking the very first day, see? What happens at the university, like in school, you got the 3 R's, reading, writing, arithmetic. At university, the first year is the 6 R's, remedial reading, remedial writing, remedial arithmetic, So we start right out of art, right? Right out of art, see? And you deal with the so we could just say, well, look, I got this idea I'm thinking about. I'm really concerned, maybe somebody, I'm just thinking hypothetically, says, I'm really concerned, about what's happening with the water, the pollution, what's happening. We talk about this, and I want to do something about it. I want to do something visually about it. We talk and say, well, I think maybe the piece would work well with the cast resins and things. That I say, look, go over to the shop over there. The guy's going to show you how to cast resins, go over there, and then we'll talk about the objects, the images, your ideas, See, wouldn't that be wouldn't that be a wonderful thing? I think it'd be fantastic. Then nobody would think that they're a lowly student. That really bugs me, I said, if you think you're a lowly student, don't ever use the word student again then, Never say that. If that word has some kind of a bad thing, don't ever say that. Say a person, And it's just, I have just as much right living here as you had, My heart is beating, I'm breathing and everything just like you, so forth, You have some expertise that I've come to you to talk to about. That's what a teacher's kind of, talk to you about. That's the only reason I'm not someplace else. And instead of having critiques, we have some talks, Some talks. That's what I like to have with a person. Talk about our works and so forth, Not critique. Critique means that I'm telling you what's good and what's bad, I can't tell you what's good and what's bad. In terms of I can tell you why the thing drips, or why the glaze shivers, or the pot spirals, all those things. We got yes and no answers, that's no problem, see? But I can't tell you if it's good or bad, because all that good or bad has to do with you, see? Just like the weight problem here, establishing how heavy should a pitcher be. Ever since the day you're born, you're making those judgments. You know, you're picking up the bottle, the pacifier, the whatever. You know how much things weigh. I'll bet you all of you know how much that weighs, how much that plastic weighs. Yeah, I bet you pick up that board, you're ready for it, right? You're ready. You know how much it weighs. See? Okay. But your knowing how much it weighs and my knowing how much it weighs is a little bit different depending on our physical makeup, our psychological thing, you know. So that when you pick up your picture, it's got to feel right. You know, and it feels right to you. That's who you made it for. You didn't make it for anybody else. You know, you didn't make it for anybody else. You made it for you. I don't care if you call yourself a production potter, you're still making those things for you. You know? Can you imagine, and I'm getting off, but I'm not getting off. This is really important, see? Is that can you go to any, I've done a lot of things, you know. I put 5 years in the service, you know. I was a hard-hat salvage diver for the Amoco Oil Companies, you know. I drove truck for Mayflower Moving Company. I was been a meat cutter for years. I worked as a lumberjack, you know. I lived years with the Indians around trap lines. I've done all these things, you know. But this is kind of the first job that I don't consider a job, you know. I have complete control. Whether I get up in the morning, whether I make something, whether I let it exist, I say it's good. You know, I don't care. You say, I say it. I mean, I have, man, oh man, it makes me feel so good. I am in control. Because there's so much else in my life, but everything else in my life I don't have control over, you know. But I have control over what I do, what exists, you know. I say it's good. I have confidence. I know I'm a good person, you know. I am basically a good person. I know that. I have faith in that, you know. I have faith in my judgments. I have faith that I will always come up with an object, you know. I have faith it'll work out, you know. I have faith in that because I feel that I have made judgment. They're not all, you know, you're going to get hurt, you're going to get burned, and you know that. But you know that you have gotten back up again, you know. You know that there's always been somebody there to help you. As a matter of fact, very few of us ever get back up on our own. There's always somebody there to help you. You know there's going to be somebody there, you know, whatever you did, you know. And I'm not talking about anything different than making pots, you know. I'm talking about the same thing, see. And if you happen to be in school, the student said to me, well, I don't know whether to go to graduate school or not. I said, okay, one reason to go to graduate school. You know what one reason is to go to graduate school? You'll never have a place to work so cheap again in your life. You know? That's right. You have a $2-3 million physical plant. You got wood shops, you got printing presses, you got pottery, you got anything you want to do. You can't afford to rent a physical plant like that. You know? Usually your material is kind of nothing. Maybe it costs you a $20 lab fee or something like that, you know? You know? Hell of a good reason to go to, you know. So that's when you make your mistakes. That's when you do your experimentation. Now, you shouldn't worry about what your direction is. Matter of fact, I'm scared when you got a direction and you're coming at us. You know, that frightens me that you've got a direction, you know. It really does. It's like you're doing all this, you're laying on. When you get out of there, you know, like you should cut the umbilical cord from there before you even get out of there, right? I mean, you should have the umbilical cord cut from school before you get the hell out of school, you know? I don't even give my freshmen problems, you know? Sometimes we do, you know, depending on that, but the graduates, I give the graduates, you know, you got a space to work, we're here, you got a faculty of 48 to deal with, you know? Do something. And the hardest people to do that are people who come from problem-solving institutions, you know? And they say, well, what should I do? I said, I don't know, you know? What do you like to do? You know? And I say, well, you know, I like to fly kites. Great. Fly some kites, and then we can talk about it. But we can't talk about the theoretical possibility of flying your kite. Go fly a kite, you know? That's probably a bad choice. Probably a bad choice, of course, but you know what I mean? So the hardest part that they have to deal with is finding out what their problem is, see? But once you find out what your problem is, the answer is easy, usually. It's finding out what your problem is. It's hard, you know? I mean, I don't want you dealing with my problems. I got to deal with those problems, see? So I'm not giving you my problems, you know? Deal with your problems, and let's talk about it. That's why, you know, with all those other jobs that I've done, you know, where most of them were physical, because I'm a physical person, and you can recover from a physical fatigue, you know? But teaching, you know, I've never had the experience of not being able to recover from mental fatigue, you know? Like, you just don't come back out of it, you know? You're dealing all day with individual people, and you have to go from this person you're talking, you know, then you go, now, okay, what are you doing now? You know, it's much easier to, let's all do the same thing. But that's bullshit teaching, I think, to be honestly truthful with you, you know. I really think the hardest job in the world that I have ever had is teaching. And that is knowing when not to be teaching. It's the hardest part to learn about teaching, you know. Knowing when not to be in the room, as a matter of fact, you know. Knowing when to get out of there, you know, so that they can deal with their work, see. The thing that used to bother me, really, when I was at school, you know, Dr. DiFrancesco, you know, nice man, you know, but I'd be working, I was a painter, I started as a painter, you know, everybody starts with high art, there's painting, it's on the wall, it's high art, see, painting, real art, it's up there on the wall, see. So what we try to do with our platters is take the real art up on the wall and bring it down the table and keep it real art. Hard thing to do, see. Okay, so anyhow, I would be painting, see. So Dr. D would come and say, oh, Reitz, what are you doing? I said, well, I'm thinking, oh, yes, I see. So he picks up my brushes, you know, and he starts saying, he said, you work a little here, and you do this, and this, see. And so I would go down, get a cup of coffee, you know. He's talking all the time. And I come back up and wait, and says, now, Reitz, you understand, you see how I mean, use a little more red, maybe, you know. Got it. Then I have to wipe the whole thing out, see, erase all that. You know, that takes a lot of gall to think that I can walk up to you and know what's in your mind. You know, what happened to you last night? I don't know what happened to you last night. You know, I don't know what you're going to... See, here we have somebody doing a sketch. Now this person, that may be what that person wants to do. Maybe the end is the sketch. But maybe it's building on. So how do you know what's going to come after that, see? I look at people and talk to people when their works are finished, not before they're finished, you know? I don't think that's a smart thing to do. Otherwise, you're trying to make these carbon copy things, you know? So that I look at work, we talk about work when it's done, see? Not before it's done, see? And I better get some work done. People are saying, oh, this time. Anyhow, it's important for me. Whatever, you know, put these things here. Now, just so that we don't get too bored, let's get this out of here.
I move it in the back.
And I have to read this out of here. See how appropriate to put in the garbage. So the kid doesn't have too far to fall. Let's just go for it, right? Put that out. More sangria, more sangria. Boy, Alan, thanks a lot. I really appreciate last night. Really good. I had a hat on last night. When you believe that, I had a...
No, you did.
Yeah, I did. Momentarily. Momentarily, I had a hat. I think he was speaking Spanish last night, wasn't I? Thanks. Good. Not much tolerance. No soul. That's good. Watch it rain. Ever have rain with you? Okay. That's cool. All right. Doesn't matter. Okay. The hardest part for years was finding these little holes, you know? Just the breathing. Really. We got to be right there. Okay.
Yes, we'll be open 9 to 12.
You think that, you know, doesn't Eagle Ceramics or any people make hole finders? Right? We're making centering discs and all that stuff.
We can make a transformer.
Buy any of those centering discs? Watch out, I'm cell centering. Here's Paul. That wasn't the gall's nose, it was Paul.
That's right. That's right.
Okay. That's why I used to keep my kids, you know, when I was babysitting my kids, you know, when they're about that age, you know, you stop him crying. You get a little molasses, put on a piece of paper, and he goes there and just... half hour at least. Crying, nothing, you know, it's really good. Try to make this somewhat sane. Gee, that door opens and closes. It sounds like elephants. Ooh. You know, that here I am sounds like elephants in the zoo. It's neat, isn't it? I like what